Can I retire at 55 with $400,000 saved for retirement? That's what we're going to look at today on the Your Financial EKG YouTube channel. I have Candace. She is recently divorced and she has $400,000 in retirement savings. She's been a homemaker her entire life and she's asking the question, can I stay retired? And so that's what we're going to look at today. Let's go into this right now because I believe this is a situation that might apply to a lot of individuals. Okay, so here we go. We got Candace, and she's 55 years old, and she's retired. She was the homemaker of her house, which means she raised the kids. She did all the domestic jobs, which my wife does, which I think is a lot harder than anything I do. So I don't envy my wife or Candace. They worked really, really hard. Now, we're going to be looking at taking Social Security at 67. That's going to be $1,800 a month, and it's going to be a spousal benefit. Now, she is divorced, so she has the ability to take a divorced spousal benefit. Now, in order for you to qualify for a divorced spousal benefit, you must have been married to your spouse for 10 years or longer. You must not be remarried, and you're going to claim Social Security benefits at 67 or at your full retirement age, which means you'll get 50% of your divorced spouse's Social Security. Now, it doesn't matter if they're remarried. It doesn't matter if they're claiming Social Security. You just want to wait till your full retirement age. If you decide to take it earlier as a divorced spousal benefit, you'll just get a lesser benefit. So if we're only going to get 50% of a full retirement benefit, it makes sense to delay that as long as possible. Now, Candace is going to get alimony. Let me show you that real quick. Let's skip forward a little bit in the process. She's going to get alimony of $3,500 until her Social Security age. So it's almost as if she's working a $42,000 job. That's what she's going to get annually. Now, keep in mind, there's not any COLA increases on her alimony. When you claim alimony, you pay the taxes, right? The person paying the alimony doesn't pay the taxes, but the person receiving the alimony does pay the taxes. So there's some taxes that we have to think about in this situation as well. And she's getting $42,000 in alimony, but it's not like she can go and stick that in an IRA or a Roth IRA or whatever. This is to live off of, okay? Now, from an asset standpoint, she really has two assets. She has $200,000 in an annuity and $200,000 in a Fidelity IRA. I asked her, I said, how much money do you have in the bank? And she said, I don't have anything in the bank. So this has been a really tough situation for Candace. She was blindsided by the divorce. The assets were split down the middle. She's had to use a lot of money to buy a home and just to restructure her life. And so right now we've got $400,000. She met with an advisor a few years ago or a year ago, and they gave her put $200,000 into an annuity, and she's got $200,000 in an IRA, and she's saying, hey, I don't know if this is what I was supposed to do. I was nervous at the time. Am I going to be okay? So let's keep going through it. Now, Candace has a home that's worth $300,000. She does have a mortgage on that. I'm going to show you that here in a second on her expenses. There's a 30-year mortgage on it because she just bought the house. So we've got this mortgage payment that's going to be with us at least for the next 30 years. And to be honest, we don't have the assets to pay off the home. The first reason why, if we take $300,000 or there's like $240,000 on the mortgage off of this, it's going to bring her liquid assets down to a level that I don't feel comfortable with. The other reason is this is all IRA money. So if she pulls out money from these accounts to pay off her home, that's going to be a large tax bill because that IRA money is considered ordinary income. So that's not something that we want to necessarily do. Now, from a rate of return standpoint, we're looking at about a 5% rate of return on her investments. The annuity, we're going to project out a 4% rate of return. The money in the market, we're going to project out a 6% rate of return. Now, the reason we're doing 4% on the annuity is because annuities aren't built for hitting home runs. If somebody says the annuity is going to give you 7, 8, 9%, run from them. 4 to 6% is probably what you're going to earn on an annuity. The market, we're going to project a rate of return of 6%. The reason we're going to do 6 is because the market has averaged 10% the last 50 years, 8% with inflation, so we're going to back up 2% behind the market average and say let's project out 6%. I don't care what the market's done the last few years. I don't care what it's done the last 10 years. I'm looking over the long term. It's called a reversion to the mean. And when you're invested over the long term, 5, 10, 15, 20 years, the market's going to revert to the mean, which means it's going to go back to what it is normally average. So when you comment and you say, hey Drew, what about what the market did last year? You don't know what you're doing. Keep in mind, we're looking at a reversion to the mean. We're thinking about what the market's going to do over the long term. All right, so we've got $700,000 in total assets right now between the home and liquid assets. We're not really worried about the home being a spendable asset because it's new, right? We got a big mortgage, not a lot of equity in it right now. So let's look at expenses. So here we go. We've got baseline expenses of $2,036. Now, baseline expenses are easy for me to explain. Baseline expenses are like your utility bill, your cable bill, your grocery bill, taxes, insurance, things that could be variable in price, meaning they're going to change. So we want to put inflation on those expenses, health insurance, things like that. That's in your baseline, okay? So for her, we have baseline expenses of $2,036. We put in a 3.27% inflation rate on it. That's that variable expense giving the inflation rate on there. Now, we're using 3.27 for inflation because that's a 109-year average. Let me show you that real quick. So if you see, we started calculating CPI in 1914. Here's 2022 at 6.5. So if you take the 109-year average, we're at 3.27%. I realize it was higher the last few years. But you can also look at the 1970s, right? There's high years there. But we've averaged 3.27%. So again, I'm not trying to look at the last few years and make emotional, irrational assumptions. What I'm trying to look at is say, okay, for the history of the market, for the next 20, 30 years, what's it going to look like, right? So we're being conservative in our projections. Now, from a mortgage standpoint, she has a $1,500 mortgage. It's a fixed payment, so there's no inflation on it. So we're at 0 on her inflation when it comes to the mortgage. So when we look at our overall inflation rate on our expenses are 35, 36. But our inflation rate's only 1.88%. So we're not looking at her total expenses that includes the mortgage and saying, oh, that's going to get a 3.27% inflation rate. Because what that's going to do is that's going to inflate her expenses in the projection, and she's going to run out of money a lot sooner than anticipated. But what we can do with the mortgage is we can say, hey, it's a 0% inflation. It's a fixed rate. It's $1,500 today. It's $1,500 10 years from now. That's not going to change with CPI. So her real inflation rate for her expenses is 1.88%. That's the true figure. That's why we do the EKG, because we don't want to misproject what expenses are going to be. And her mortgage ends. So we want to put an end date on expenses that are going to end. We don't want to project out at 95 that we're going to be spending whatever for vacation. That's not going to happen, right? You know, we got to put an end date on our expenses. That's why it's so critical to you to have a detailed financial plan. We call that a financial EKG. And if you want a financial EKG, go to the description of this video, and that's how you can get in touch with me. There's also a free download in the comment section, and we can put together a financial EKG for you that is detailed for your individual situation. All right. So cash flows, we already looked at this. We've got some alimony. We'd like to put in some vacation, some travel to see the grandkids. She's got grandkids all over the country. But what we really need to figure out first is, can I retire, and how long is my money going to last? So let's go to retirement. So here we go. So we're 55 years old. Here's our alimony coming in. Here's our net monthly income, right? It's taxable. Here's our monthly income coming in. Here's our expenses. So we've got to take out, starting at 55, $500 a month out of our investments. That's that 409,603 number. Now, if you look at this, you can see, here we go, here's what we're taking out. It's getting inflation, so it's growing every month. Now, there's zeros up here because we started this plan. We just met recently, so we don't know what the last few months looked like. Let's go to 2024 so I can show you a complete year here. So you can see, here it is. 509, 515, 520, 526. So that's inflation, right? Blueberries today are more expensive than they were yesterday, and they'll be more expensive tomorrow. So we've got to really calculate that in. Now you can see Social Security kicking on at 67. There's that divorce spousal benefit of $1,800. The alimony goes away. We've got $541,000 in spendable assets at this point. Now here's where I want to stop. We're 67 years old. We're kicking on $1,800 in Social Security. We've got $541,000 in spendable assets. You can see the annuity value as of right now is $112,659. The Fidelity IRA bucket's $426,846, and we've built up a little bit of a bank account of $1,852. That's given us our $541,358. But here's the tables are turning, right? We were losing the alimony. Our expenses are continuing on, right? We still have that mortgage payment, and we still have our baseline, our utilities, our groceries, and those are growing at 3.27%. And so what I want you to notice is now we're starting to pull money out of our portfolio. Our portfolio is less each year. So you can see it's starting to go down now. Here's Social Security increasing every year. Here's our net monthly income after taxes. But you see how much we're going to have to pull out of our portfolio, right? The mortgage isn't going away. That $1,500 is fixed for 30 years. And we're looking at baseline expenses, groceries, utilities, gas in the car, streaming. And you can see at 85, we're out of money. We're at a zero. Now we still have our home, which we could sell or reverse mortgage if we wanted to get some more cash at that point. But at 85 years old, she's out of money. So now we go back up here. Two things we want to look at. We want to look at shortfall and we want to look at required rate of return. Now, rate of return needed to avoid a shortfall means what rate of return do we need to earn to get this money to 100? And I just like 100 because I think people are going to live a lot longer. If we get to the mid-90s, I'll be pretty happy. Okay, 85 is good, but I don't want to get to 80. People go, well, Drew, 85, that's great. I'm not going to live to 85. But what if we get to 80? Let's go to her 80. She got $250,000 at 80, and what if there is long-term care situation? I'm glad you asked. Let's look at long-term care real quick. Let's go to long-term care. Now, the current year, 2023, she's 55 years old. So let's look at long-term care at 80, year 2048, and she lives in North Carolina, okay? So you can see the North Carolina, the average future monthly cost. Now, this is what the cost for long-term care is in North Carolina right now, $8,213 a month. Now, remember, Candace is single now, okay? So there's no spouse. The kids are all over the country. So long-term care is something that she needs to be thinking about. We need to say, how are we going to protect ourselves in the event that we need assisted living, home health care, long-term care? And I know it's not something you want to talk about. I know it's morbid, and we don't want to talk about this. I don't like talking about it either. But it's something that we have to address. So if we look at this, here's homemaker services, here's adult daycare, and here's nursing home. So we come down here at 80. Here's long-term care kicking in. Look at this. We're out of money at 81, and we still have time that we need care for. Now, we're projecting 4 years of long-term care, but this is something we've really got to be considering. So let's go back to retirement. So we're going, okay, we're out of money at 85. What can we do? Well, you know, for Candace, the one thing that we can do is we can put some income in here. We can start working a little bit. And so I asked her, I said, hey, and I know I hate this, but she's 55 and she's still young and she's healthy. I said, can you do anything? Can you work? Is there a job you can do? She said, yeah, of course. You know, unemployment rate's at a very low level. Job openings are high. Yes, I can work. I said, well, what if we add in an extra $12,000 a year? Let's just add in $12,000 a year, $1,000 a month. Just go work whatever you need to do doing $1,000. And let's do that until you're 60. So you don't have to do it till 65. Let's just do it till 60. So we're at 60 now. We got an extra $1,000 a month. And let's get a little projected salary increase on that at 3%. So she's got $1,000 a month, 3% projected increase on that. What does that do to our plan? We go over here. All that gets us to 91. We're getting closer. And that's not actually doing a whole heck of a lot. I mean, $12,000 a year part-time work is not a lot of work. And Candace, recently divorced, is looking for social interaction. This is something that she can actually do and thrive with. And I said, okay, Candace, what if we get up to $1,500? And you make $18,000 a year. We go to retirement, still at 91, which is still pretty good. right? Now think about this. Maybe she works part-time. We're able to pluck a little bit more money away and save some. Let's go to $2,000. That's $24,000 a year. Still at 91. So we can make $1,000, $2,000 a month, and we're still gonna run out of money at 91. Again, we're pushing in the right direction. Let's see if we can get this to 100. What do we gotta do here? Let's see, $3,000 a month. That's $36,000 a year. Now we're pushing more towards full-time work at this point. Wow, we actually back up a year. Must be taxes. It's gotta be taxes. Yeah, I think we threw ourselves into a new tax bracket. So we make a little bit more money, we lose a year because of taxes. Isn't that crazy how that works? Let's go back to $1,000. I like that better for just kind of step into the workforce. 91 years old. Okay, perfect. So, can I retire at 55 with $400,000 as a recently divorced individual? Yes, but it's gonna be tough. Do you need to work a little bit? Yes, you do. Are there some things we need to adjust for long-term care, taxes? Yeah, there is, but you can do it. So I hope this video has helped you in your retirement planning. Make sure you go back to the full catalog for all of our Can I Retire videos. Thanks for watching. God bless. Bye-bye.